Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of On Tap. As the oldest man in the studio here, I'm working with all these young pups. I got no one to relate to, so I had to get our friend Ben Solem here on an episode so that we can talk about the worst part about getting old. Ben, how's it going today, dude?
I'm doing good. I took about a 40-minute nap today. Obviously something the youngsters don't get to do or really appreciate, but I took a nap. I didn't completely sleep wrong on my arm, so I'm not paralyzed or anything. And I mean, even though Cody, we're not the oldest cats around here, we get that. There's someone watching this going, "You pups ain't nothing." We got a lot of old man vibes, and
We
I
do.
I think old man vibes just kind of started any like I say you're probably right around 23. You can really start to reel it in of like I'm getting old here. Like what is going on? Why can't I eat that anymore? And why do these goddamn bills
Right.
keep coming every fucking month?
I
So
think that's a really good point. I think what we need to do is explain like what age did you start feeling like you're transitioning? You're not a pup anymore. You're changing. For me personally, I think it was like that 23 to 25 range was when I really started knowing like, hey, something's changing with me.
yeah, I get that. I hit 23 and that's when hangovers started really to hit me. And I was like, oh, we gotta like drink water. Like we gotta actually be like smart about what we're doing. Like, oh, if I have work in the morning, I should probably, simmer down by about 9 o'clock or so on the drinks or anything like that. And I
Yeah.
I would say it was right around there, right around 23, because I couldn't drink like I could anymore. And I just like increasingly got more scared of the government coming and stealing me for like messing up on my taxes a little bit somehow, some way.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think for me, it's like after I'm gonna say my changing point was a hard 25 because I realized that my hangovers are 10 times worse. And I think that was the first time I experienced like a 2 day hangover where it's like I felt like the effects of like being hungover the whole next day. But it's the second that it carried over to that second day, and I was like, oh, okay. Now I get what everyone was talking about. All my older friends are like, you just wait. I was like, okay, I've hit that point. I have had the 2 day hangover, and I think that was my realization. I'm not a pup anymore. I gotta take it easy. I gotta maybe slam a liquid IV before I go to bed, or make sure I have some Tylenol or something.
That's where it gets you. It's like even this last summer, man, I Megan and I are out. We're having a great time. We're like, you know what? We're kid free this weekend. Let's let her fly. And we let her fly. And I puked before I went to bed. I puked about 9 times the next day. I could barely even eat. I had one of them big chicken chalupas from Taco Bell. I could barely even eat one of those. And then it carried me into the next day. And I was just like, wow, man, we gotta like not drink anymore. Like we might have to just do what everyone else does around here, just get on like some fentanyl or something. Because like eh, I don't hear of anyone ever having a hangover from that. They just wake up dead. So and some mornings it'd be a little bit better.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think maybe just switching to other things other than alcohol. I'm starting to see a pattern here that alcohol is the most common denominator for just the worst couple days after the having fun part, you know? For me, one of the biggest things was that nobody told me that also my knees were going to be one of the first things to go. Because in the reality, it sounds like I'm making popcorn now when I go to stand up, the way that these babies are cracking. So I think that also was another moment where I'm like, oh, this hurts a little bit. You're kneeling for a little bit too long. You go to stand up, and you feel that. You feel that pain in the joints. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, well here I'll throw it back at you real quick. So you got a young little ripper running around the house right now. How many
Mhm.
times? Because I got two boys at home now. How many times have you sat on the floor to just hang out, play with the kids, and you're like, oh, I'll sit crisscross applesauce. This ain't no problem. I can't get up, dude. I get 15 minutes into a sit, I can't get back up. Shut it down. I'm stuck there playing Legos and Hot Wheels for the next 3 hours if someone doesn't help me get off the floor. And I'm not going to roll around like a worm in front of these kids and not lose, top dog status in my own house. but it's gotten
All of
close.
a sudden, the pecking order is it's all rearranged. They see you start to struggle, they're going to try to take the throne.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna jump at me and they're gonna bite my neck, and next thing I know, I'm gonna be sleeping in their, twin size bed or whatever, and I'll have to
They
sit.
take your bed.
I'll have to sit in the booster seat in the back of the pickup. I don't even know what the hell's going on most days, but
All of a
yeah,
sudden, they have control of the thermostat. You don't even know what the hell's going on.
yeah, they're changing the Wi-Fi password. I can't watch Scrubs anymore. Like it's gonna be a fucking issue. Yeah, and that's all because my legs don't work because I'm getting old. So thanks.
1,000%. 1,000%. What do you think was your realization? Like, what can you think back to? Like, what was your moment? You're like, okay, I'm not the guy anymore. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I need to chill. Do you
Uh,
remember what that moment was for you?
oh man, it's gonna sound dumb, but Megan and I were hanging out having drinks in the backyard, and she goes, "I'm gonna do a cartwheel," and she did kind of a somersault. And I was, a couple drinks in, got a little liquid courage. I'm like, oh, I could nail a cartwheel. I've never done a cartwheel in my fucking life, but I figured I could handle it, right? And I went up for it, and boy, did I go down for it too. And I just had to lay there. And she was like, "Do you want me to bring you your beer?" And I'm like, I don't even pour it in my mouth, pour it on me. I don't even care. Just get a shovel, bury me. I don't even know what just happened here. You know, what about
That
you? What was your turning point with that?
I think for me it was that first 2 day hangover, and that was when I really realized like, yeah, this is different now. I got to like really pay attention to what's going on. But I think also another thing for me was when I realized that like I'm not keeping up with technology as much as I did when I was a kid, just based on like what phone I have. Like now, I could care less as long as it works for what I need it to do. That's all I need. I'm not worried about what phones are coming out, what features they got. Like when I was a kid, I feel like that was the coolest thing was keeping up with whatever new phone, new computer, new game, new whatever. I don't do that anymore. And I think that's a big part of it. But also the way that we grew up, I realized too, like the way that these kids are learning in school is totally different from how we learned when we were in school. Like I mean, I learned how to balance a damn checkbook for no reason.
Yeah. Oh man, that was a scam and a half. I actually wrote a check. Oh man, about a month ago, and I had to dig through it because like my mom was like, when I bought my first house, she's like, you need to go to the bank. You need to order 5,000 checks because you're going to use them to pay your power bill every month. And I was like, wow, I don't want to not have a way to pay that. And I never even questioned it for like the first 3 years I lived in my house. I didn't know about the online bill pay for it. I just kept writing checks and driving them to the city hall and dropping them off every month. And I was like, man, there's got to be a better way to do this. Like, this is stupid. I remember telling one of my coworkers, I was like, hey, are you still writing checks for your power bill? And they're like, what the fuck is this, 1978? No, I do it on my phone. And I'm like, oh, the phone.
Oh, I can do that.
I could probably take
Yeah, I
take a look.
I I would agree because when I got my first car, that was how I made my payments because someone told me that I needed to write a check and mail it in. So I had to make sure I mailed that thing in like 2 weeks ahead of time because I didn't want it to be late. You can't mail a check out on the day it's due, obviously. So I remember I also came to that same realization when I got a letter from my bank in the mail that was like, we'll cut off whatever it was, 10.1% of your interest rate on this loan if you start paying it online. And I'm like, what? That's an option? I could be doing this and I'm going to save money doing that? Of course I'm going to do that. Yeah, it's funny how that changes because like I said, I remember like learning how to balance a checkbook and I thought that like in school my teacher had put so much weight on that and I had thought that I was going to have to balance a checkbook so much more than what I have. I mean, I've never balanced a checkbook in real life. I've
I
only ever done it for class.
I tried doing it once in real life. This is also ironically before I knew about online banking because my mom would just be like, "Oh yeah, if you need to know your balance, you can either call the bank or you can stop by there." And I remember being in high school, like I was, I was working a job, 16-year-old kid, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I wonder how much money I got in my checking account. So like I drove over to the bank and I asked, I was like, how much money is in my checking account? They're like, you have $86. I'm like, hot damn, we're gonna go get some pizza at Casey's. And like, it just had to work like that. But I tried bouncing a checkbook. This was after I was probably about 20 at this time. And I was trying to bounce my checkbook because my mom was like on my shit, like, you need to make sure every time you get paid, you add the money to it. And every time you take it out. So I'm sitting there, I'm like adding, subtracting, and then like I realized at this point I was like, wait, this is stupid. I can look at my bank account balance on my phone and I could just write it. So for like 2 months, I just kept writing what my bank account balance was, like just doing what the app was already doing on my
Yeah.
checkbook. Cause I thought like the tax man was gonna come to my house, look at my check, like the check blank thing, and be like, "Oh, looks like you paid for your power bill here, but then you also got paid here on the 15th. You didn't add it. Give us your
You
big
didn't add it.
give us your big toe. We're gonna cut it off with a pair of Fisker scissors." Like, all right, like, the fuck is next?
Yeah, I remember like the first time that I got logged into to my bank's app, and it was game changing because I kind of did a similar version to what you're talking about. I had an app on my phone that had just you would input your balance, and then you could just type in something in a category, and it would subtract from that balance, and that's how I would keep track of how much money I had. Little did I know that I thought if I just didn't write it down that I still had that money. And I don't know where my 17-year-old brain was at where I'm like, okay, if I just don't put it in here, then I got more money. And it's like, okay, obviously it doesn't work that way, but it makes me feel a lot better. And then I would just forget that I didn't put it in. And then yeah, and then I would just, overdraft or whatever the case and figured out that you can't do that.
God, dude, you're like money laundering in the metaverse before that was a thing. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like money laundering, except I wasn't making anything and I was really just spending more money than I thought I was. So, really just a win-win scenario for myself.
Yeah, that I will expand a little bit on the technology thing too, because I really truly don't care about technology. Like, I know a few cats that they love playing video games and stuff like that, and the last thing I bought was an Xbox 360, and I still have that. And I think Modern Warfare 2 was the last Call of Duty I bought. Not whatever the new one is, but like the 2011 one. And
Yeah.
like I just don't keep up with any of that. Like I haven't bought like whatever the new shit. I was gonna say Beats headphones, but that's not even relevant anymore. It's all about AirPods. Um,
Right.
that just gives you an insight right there of like, oh yeah, what do we know about technology? Like, just give me a goddamn rock, boy. Like,
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, like I said, just not keeping up on what's new and what's current. It's like, if it does what I want it to do, that's what I'm just gonna stick with now, and I think my mentality on that has changed. It used to be like, if it's new, it's good. Now if it's like, if it's good, it's good.
and what's up with all the bullshit like updates? Why does everything have to update? Like, I have an update I've been pushing back on my phone for 144 days. It has told me every single day that I need to do this update. Why? We were working just fine. We're still working just fine. I can call people, I can text people, I can go through Facebook, and I can set it as an alarm clock. Wow, did I just sound like my 70-year-old mom? Holy shit. Where was I on January 6th? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's you definitely know, like, when you're around younger people too, like, I'll feel that sometimes here at the studio, we got a lot of young pups that hang around here, and, they'll be talking about some new app, some new phone feature, some new slang, and I just feel lost. I feel lost, and I feel like an old man because I have to feel like I'm understanding, so I'll stop everyone and be like, "Hold on. What the hell does that word mean?" Like, what did you just say to me? Is that some sort of slang? So I would say that's definitely one of those markers. It's like, yep, I'm getting old. But also, I think for me, another point of like the worst part about getting old is I realized the other night that going to bed early now feels more of an accomplishment than a waste of a night. And
Oh, it's kind of a
that's a big
treat.
point.
It's kind of a
Right.
treat.
Right.
You're like, wow, you're like, you wake up the next day, still at 6 in the morning or whatever, and you're like, wow, I still feel like a groggy piece of shit. But I got like an extra hour and a half of sleep. Wow, look at me go. Like
Yeah.
how
Look at me.
how awesome. Yeah, with the young pups, so I'm on a volleyball team in the summertime. My friend Hunter invites me every year, and it's always like him and like just some random people. And I remember we were all sitting around and everyone's phone starts binging. And I'm like, okay, mine didn't go off. I'm in the Snapchat group chat, but it wasn't that noise. And it was the WhatsApp or What's Up or whatever. And I was like, what are you guys doing right now? And they're like, oh, you have 20 minutes to take a picture or no, be real. That's what it was. And they're like, oh, you
Yeah.
got 20 minutes to take a picture of what you're doing right now. And you got to do it every time. And we're all synced up at the same time. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, if they come out with one more social media, I'm not getting it. Like, I have Facebook, I have Instagram, and I about a year ago deleted Twitter. I'm not getting any more. Like, they can come out with whatever ones they want. Like, I already got what I got. I don't need to, use the same email and password I've used for my whole life on another one to just probably still forget it. Like I'm good. I don't need any more social media. like
Right. Right. So now here that brings me to the conclusion that we got to start our own social media platform. And if you were to create one, what are some of the features you think that you would use in a platform that you were to make? Like what is useful and what's not? Like what garbage would you cut out?
um, I'd honestly, I'd just rebirth Craigslist and just make it not suck and get rid of that stupid Facebook Messenger or the Facebook Marketplace. Like, is this still available? Like, no, I don't. If you want to buy it, you come buy it. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't got time for this. Like,
Right.
I don't know what would I add to a social media if I made a social media. I probably have like the old man in me. I would probably have like a segment for like recipes, like just like hey, if you want to add to, we'll call it our cookbook, and it's all alphabetized and whatever, and I can just type in like tater tot hot dish, and there's like six different variants of it. Like I would probably add that as like a living cookbook or something. I think that would bring everyone together.
I think
Uh,
you're onto something there. And here's the thing too. I always loved cooking like my whole entire life, but I would say the older I get, the more I like cooking, specifically grilling. I've never wanted to ever smoke anything, but my friends started getting into smoking meats and like getting smokers, and I just have this good hankering for a for a like a smoked something. And I have a smoker now. I haven't used it yet, but I'm thinking when we get my deck put together, I'm gonna start smoking meat, and I think I'm gonna be a big recipe guy.
Dude, you got a new pair of New Balances to bust out for this? I want to finish a deck and start using my smoker. Holy,
Dude. Yeah, I'm just really taking on the final dad form, I think here. We got one kid. I'm sure we're gonna have a couple more. So I gotta get a couple pairs of New Balance, and I gotta make sure I get at least one set of these things green.
oh
And by
yeah.
green, I mean I'm gonna mow with these things. I'm gonna be smoking meat with these things, and I don't think there's any other option.
But I think it's also kind of like it's got to be just an age thing because like I remember being a kid watching King of the Hill and being like, wow, all those guys just hang out and stand around and drink beer and then they'll watch one guy grill, and I was like, that's crazy. But like me and my neighbor Nacho across the street, that's what we do, and we think it's the greatest thing ever. But like even my friend group, like we all went from being rowdy kids, we go from smoking that beef to now we're looking at Weber's and charbroils and things like that, and it's just a little bit different. But what did Dre say? It's same chronic, different smoke, but I guess I.
Yeah, heard that. I think it's pleasures now. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's something just so nice about like all your friends that have other shit going on. If you guys can all line up a day when you can just get together and have a couple beers and grill some meat. There's nothing that's more satisfying than just a free afternoon with the boys and you're just having a couple of beers and grilling out. I mean, there's nothing that feels more relaxing to me now.
Right, and then you get to sit there and talk about, like old memories and, repressed regret and, everything else that was cool they never
Yeah.
accomplished. But, other than that, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Walk down memory lane with the boys.
1,000%. 1,000%. Yeah, I think it never changed. It's like you obviously loved hanging out with your friends as a kid, but it just changed now that everyone has other shit going on. Everyone has other responsibilities. So I think like other than like grilling out, having a couple of beers, what do you think is like some of the most satisfying things as you get into an older age, a more settled down facade?
I keep walking around Lowe's and I keep looking at like woodworking tools. I keep looking at like table saws and I'm like, yeah, I don't really have room for one of these, but and I don't have woodworking skill to save my life, but I'm like, yeah, maybe that would be nice to make, like some cutting boards or something. Like really just trying to get into like a maybe woodworking's a thing. Hell, I had a guy come over this summer and gave me a quote on going through and grading my whole yard and reseeding it because I was sick of when the backyard has like a 6-inch slope in the back, and it's one of those things. Like I used to laugh at my dad forever because he was so meticulous about his yard, and he had a great yard, but he would spend hours on his mower and weed whacker and putting fertilizer X, Y, and Z on this thing. And I remember being a kid and being like, "That's stupid. Why are you wasting your time? It's grass." And now I'm getting older and I'm pulling into my driveway and I'm like, "God, this kind of looks like dog shit. I need to figure that. I don't know." And then next thing I know, I'm talking to coworkers and I'm talking to friends and I'm like, "Yeah, so what do you guys think of St. Augustine? Is that pretty healthy? Is that pretty good? Does that grow in all right?" And it's like, wow.
Next thing you know, you're growing some Kentucky bluegrass and you're cutting this thing like a putting green, and then all of a sudden you're taking up golf, and then your shoes are slightly getting green, and it's a beautiful transformation of life. You've gone from a ugly caterpillar into a beautiful butterfly now.
Yeah, and that beautiful butterfly is just like, man, I should rake that yard. That'd be a good use of 2 hours, I bet. Like-
Yeah, no doubt. I used to think of yard work honestly as like a big waste of time too. And I really had like a laughable moment to myself when I realized like I also took really good care of my lawn this summer, and we had to get a new well put in, and they just tore up my entire yard, and I laughed because I was so upset that they were ripping up the yard to when they were like trenching in the new water line. Like I was pissed. I didn't even want to talk to anyone. And when my wife came into the house that day after she got home from work, she's like, "What is wrong?" And I'm just like, I don't even want to talk to anyone. I'm just so upset right now." And then she's like, "Listen, it's the lawn. Like you'll be okay. Like we can regrow this grass." And I'm like, "You're right. Like this is actually comedic. Like how pissed I am about this." And I realized I took a lot of care in that thing, and they
Yeah.
just fucked it up.
Yeah, you're like, honey, I'm happy you see it that way. I'm happy you see that this isn't an issue, but this empty bottle of Red Stag in the garage with me with the lights off listening to Johnny Cash for the past 6 hours says
Yeah,
otherwise. There's gonna be
I
a
didn't even have
problem.
any. I had no beer in my fridge, so I'm like, she comes home, I'm drinking one of her seltzers, and she's like, "What is wrong with you right now?" I'm like, "I just need a drink. I just need to calm down."
I I'm gonna spin it off just a little bit here. Um I used to never have this growing up, and this is how I knew I was getting older was I've been getting like heartburn from like stuff that I eat that I would normally eat. Like if I have something too spicy, and I'm like, man, I should really pop a couple Tums here before I'm going into, Pizza Ranch. Like this is gonna be an issue. Like I'm not gonna have a good time, but I'm gonna have a good time. Or like even like like I'll have one glass of orange juice, and I'll be like, I should have another glass of orange juice, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be fucked if I drink another glass of orange juice. And I'm like, this is what it's coming to. I'm getting
That's actually funny.
I'm like, I'm getting defeated by, or oh, what's the other one? Like I used to do like vodka crayons. They used to be a great drink. I used to love that. Nah, dude, I get such bad heartburn now. I'm just like, oh, I don't even know what I can do anymore. I love orange juice. I might as well just brush my teeth 24/7 so it tastes bad, so I never drink it. I haven't really figured out the fix all for that yet, but it's got to be something. Like,
That's funny. I just had nose surgery like probably about a year ago now, and some of the antibiotics that they gave me for it gives you really bad heartburn if you take them and then lay down, right?
yep,
And I'd never had heartburn really. Like I've had a little bit of heartburn, but never severe heartburn. And I took some of these medication and I lay down and wake up like 30 minutes later and my chest, it literally feels like it's on fire and it hurts, and it feels like I have to burp constantly and I
yep.
can't. It feels like I'm gonna throw up. And I told Taylor and I'm like, hey, I might need to go to the urgent care or something. Like I don't feel right. I don't feel normal. My chest burns. I feel like I'm gonna puke. She's like, you have heartburn. Like, calm down. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, no, this is definitely not heartburn. And she's like, okay, here's the deal. Here's Tums. You calm down a little bit, wait 10 minutes. If you're still feeling the same, then I'll do something, whatever. Take the Tums. And I felt like $1,000,000. I was like, damn, I am legitimately getting old. Like I've never had to deal with this before. Like I'm freaking out.
Yeah, the first time I did it, I was like, not on antibiotic, just drinking juice or whatever. And I remember I went on WebMD, which between WebMD and Quorum, like you're just gonna end up with cancer, you're dying. But like that was what I'm looking it up, and I'm like, my chest hurts, my stomach feels so full, I feel like I'm gonna puke and burp all at the same time. And I was like in a tizzy about it. I'm like, oh my god, dude, I'm not doing good. And everything's like heart attack, heart attack, heart attack. You're having a heart attack, and I'm like, oh, heart attack at 24 years old. This is crazy. Like,
And every single thing that you look up on Google, it leads you to believe that you're either having a heart attack, or you're about to die, or that you have cancer,
yeah.
or maybe even diabetes. You get down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. I mean, like some days are just like, you'll type in WebMD, be like, I have a tension behind my eye. And they're like, you're having a stroke. Like, well, I hope someone can drive me to the hospital because I'm not calling the ambulance for shit.
Lord, take me now. Lord, take me now.
Oh,
That's funny. Yeah, one of the worst parts about getting old also is that the older you get, the more people expect you to know things, and that's not necessarily the case because like I'm not learning a lot. The older I get, I feel like it's a lot slower than you would imagine. Like I said, we get some young pups coming around the studio that ask me for advice on some things. I'm like, dude, I don't even. I'm in the same boat as you. Like I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. And I can't think of any advice specifically off the top of my head, but you would think that you would learn stuff as you age more than what you do, right?
yeah. You would think that there's like there's a graph, and it's like you start out born, you learn nothing, you turn like 7, you learn a little bit, you turn 13. Like you think it would just keep going in a progression. And like I was thinking about this the other day. I was just like, man, I haven't read a book in a decade, and everything I've ever learned is from reading from strangers on the internet and believing them, or listening to my friends, or people I talk to at the gas station and just taking it for scripture. Like anything like that. I'm just like someone will be like, yeah, if you're gonna put a telecommunication line and you're gonna want to bury 18 inches. I heard that 10 years ago. I have no idea if that's factual or not, but I bet that's what it is. I'm going to tell someone else. I told my father-in-law that this weekend. We were talking about telecommunication lines and whole hogging and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, it's got to be 18 inches. And they're like, oh yeah, that sounds right. Like, I don't think anyone knows. I think that's a big thing. Like folk tales. Like folk tales are passed down from like generation to generation. I feel like the older you get, it's just more watered down content. Where like, I'm sure you bought your smoker, right? And someone was like, "Okay, man, you're gonna want to do this with the brisket. You're gonna want to trim this. You're gonna want to put it in this. You want to season it, let it rest, 250, whatever." And you're like, "I don't know how to fact check this, but whatever you just said is exactly what I'm gonna do." Like, I don't know. I'm just gonna go with it. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I would also say the same thing. I do take strangers' words for law sometimes, and I know I shouldn't. And I'm trying to think of a recent instance because I know that it's happened recently. Or actually, let me bring it back to the bus. Like, how did we all get the same story when we were like in elementary school that like Marilyn Manson removed his bottom two ribs so that he could suck himself off? I feel like
Yeah.
everyone just knew that.
I heard that from my
Where did that?
I think that went back to, like, family things, because like, I heard that from my cousin Andy at Christmas, and that would've been probably about in '99, and he was telling me about that, and he's like, "Yeah, he removed his ribs so he could suck his dick," and I was like, "Whoa, people put those in their mouths? Like, what?" Like,
You're like, holy
I
shit,
didn't know.
that's crazy. That's what that thing's
Do
for. I
they
had no
do they
idea.
bite it? Like
Uh, Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so much folk tales I feel like as an adult too, like you said, with the smokers. I think a lot of it is with the lawns too, you know. I get on lawn talk a lot and you know, they'll start talking about how, you know, you need to mow your lawn super short in the spring and in the fall, but in the summer you need to leave it long because the shadow protects the roots and you know, you get into this like weird category of advice that's like does this really matter? Like, I feel like my yard's still burning.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I still follow, but I don't know. I'm probably still messing something else up.
See, and that's the funny thing, like, think of little kids, right? And, I got a 5 and 8-year-old at home. I will say one thing, and then they question everything. Like, they'll literally be like, "What is this?" And I'll be like, "This is blank." And they'll be like, "Why? What is that? Why is that?" And I'm just curious at what age you just get to the point where you're like, someone will just be like, "Oh, yeah, there's the sky isn't blue." And you're just like, "Yeah, fuck, maybe not. I don't know." Like, you just don't care anymore. You're like, I don't know. I don't know. It
I
might
think
might
there's
not
like a
be.
certain amount of information that you can hold onto, and I think that you reach a point where it's like, "Okay, I don't care." Like, if this is not a core thing that I need to memorize, then all right, yep, sounds good. You're right, and that's gonna be my answer for the rest of life, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and that's a scary thing because I feel like growing up, like you retained everything, like you were like super smart. So they'd be like, when is Thomas Jefferson's birthday? And you could be like, oh, it's October, whatever. But like then it turns into like now, I feel like I got like the old man brain, like the equivalent of like a 2 megabyte PlayStation 2 memory card. Like you can save 2 games on it, and that's it. Like I don't know. Like I retain some stuff, and then there's other stuff where I'm like, huh, yeah, this probably would be helpful to remember, but I don't know, I don't got any room. What am I supposed to do? Take all these memories about how to trim a tree that I don't own and just dump them out of my head so I could keep,
Yeah,
so I can remember when dinner
that's a
is
really
tonight. Like I don't know. Like
right. What can you think of off the top of your head, just some absolute useless facts that you know?
Everything about World War II. Absolutely everything about World War II. I know way too much about World War II because I'm getting fucking old and I don't need to know any of it. Someone will be like, "Oh,
Why?
when was the battle of this?" And I'll just be like, "Oh, it was this and this." It's like, uh, I don't know. I got really into it, and I think I don't really grill much, so I guess I fell into that World War II category, and I started just watching like YouTube videos, and I'm like, watching videos. I'm like, yeah, man, the P-51 Mustang was the best fucking fighter of World War II, no doubt. Like, I wasn't fucking there. I fly on Sun Country. Like, I don't fucking know. Like,
You feel like you had stake in it, you know? It's like, it's a life or death situation when it comes to learning some of this stuff.
hmm
I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. I feel like I know a lot of useless facts about, just the human body, you know, the average human skull weighing 8 pounds. Like, why is that something that I retained from, like, biology class in 7th grade? I have no idea.
that's crazy. Why? So anatomy is what sticks in your head.
are you trying to twist this in a weird way on me? Because I don't like where this is going.
No, no, I just mean like if I was to point, like if you were to look down at your wrist and you look at the outer bone, like do you know what that one's called? Like like whatever this.
No,
Okay, then see, then you're good.
I forgot.
I know people were like, they'll be like, "Oh, you're breaking bone." I'm like, "Yeah, I broke my wrist." And they're like, "What one?" And they're like, "The tibia, the fibia." And I'm like, "I don't know, but I got a cool cast. I have no fucking clue, dude."
I don't know.
Um,
Yeah, that's a good. No, I remember rat anatomy. You ever dissect like a rat in your anatomy class in high school?
no, I went to public school, so we didn't do that. If you wanted to see a rat, you could go out back and you could go find one and go stomp it with hit it with the shovel with some of the boys if we wanted to, but I don't think we had that at East Side. That wasn't a fucking thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You want to go see a rat, you go down to Burger King and go fucking hit the dumpster with a hammer. Like, you'll find some. Like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, we went to different high schools.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Do you guys have uniforms?
No, no, we didn't. We did. Ours was public school too, but it sounds like a more watered down version than what you got to
I
experience.
think, just to roll back into the school thing, I think another sign that you know you're growing up is like we got like our grade, and I'm sure your grade did too. We were the first ones to get smart boards. And I've been walking around schools and stuff with the kids, and I'm like, dude, there's no smart boards. Like that was a brand new edge, top of the line product when we were there, and our teachers thought it was the holy grail. And now they're not even a thing. Like I still remember using the Apple computers that were all like the colored Apple ones for like typing and like taking keyboarding class and stuff like that. And like
Yep.
now every kid just gets like an iPad. Like what the like I don't know, the technology of schools is even blows me away of like, wow, I'm this far gone from being there and it was a decade ago. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, you're old.
You graduated the same year as me, guy.
Yeah, you're fucked.
I want to say one thing about getting old though, and I have to give credit where credit is due when it comes to the older generations because like obviously everyone in our generation we think we're the smartest people or we got it figured out whatever. And the older I get, the more I realize I really see where the older generations are coming with. And not from like a political standpoint or anything like that, but just like something we can all really sink our teeth into. And like I think the old generation has figured out, and I know I'm old because of it, but like can you just give me a goddamn paper menu to tell me what your drink list is? I don't want to scan this shit. I don't want to look at it on my phone. Just give me a goddamn paper drink list so I can look through and still say, yeah, I'll just take a Busch Light, thanks. Like, just fix it. Like,
Yeah, dude. I will say I'm in complete agreement with you. I was at a restaurant yesterday in Minneapolis where there is no paper menus. You got to scan this QR code, but they make it an extra hassle because they also serve alcohol. And so you got to enter in your driver's license information and a credit card, and you pay the second that you place that order, and they just bring it to your table. It sounds convenient, and on the books, it probably looks very convenient, but it takes so long to just like get your thing set up. What table are you at? Here's your card number. Here's your license number. I just want a beer and a burger. Like, just let me order a beer and a burger.
yeah.
And you can't, you gotta type all the shit in and then they bring it to your table. So, like, one, I don't even know if they got the order. It came out very fast. So it did work slick, but it took forever to set up. And in my head, the whole time I'm thinking, like, are they actually bringing anything? I don't even know. How do they know? How do I know that they got it? There's nothing telling me.
Well, and the kicker is
So I'm
it's always a joint like that too, where like the waitress is coming around, they're like, "Oh yeah, you pull it up on your phone, blah blah," and then you're like, "I don't have any service in here," and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a brick building. Sorry, that's just so crazy." Like how about you fire up the fucking inkjet back there and print some shit off? Like paper is cheap. Like I'll bring you a ream of paper. I won't buy you the ink. That part's expensive. I get that, and I don't have a laminating machine. But like it's always a hassle like that. And I don't know. I'm not for it. I'm definitely not for it. Like I've never even had a paper straw, so I got no comment on those. But yeah, give me a paper menu. I don't want to jump through a bunch of hoops. I just want to order my food. You'll probably get a better tip if I don't have to have so much bullshit going on, honestly.
Right.
Like
Yeah, I'm in complete
it
agreement.
works better for, everyone. I was trying to think what's another thing that like the other day I went to go get my oil change on my car, and the local Chevy garage here in town, they're doing a thing where you don't have to wait in line. You go on your phone and you reserve an online spot. And then when it's close to your time, you drive there and then you text the person and you say, "Hey, I'm here." And then you wait 5 minutes and then they text you back and they say, "Okay, yeah, pull it on in." Well, there's no actual physical line. There's nothing going on at this car dealership. And I have to set up a freaking I have to send them a fucking MSN Messenger thing to set up to get my car. Like, let me just call someone and just talk to them and just say, "Hey, guess what? I need some 530 thrown in this thing. It's 4 quarts. Let's go." Like, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel here? Just change the fucking oil. You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. Some of this stuff that's meant to be more efficient, it feels like is more of a cop out for the people that are there to do less work.
Mhm.
Kind of makes more work for the customer. It's dressed up as a convenience, but it actually makes more work for you so that they don't have to do as much. They don't have to train their people, which, some of the places I've been to, that's probably a good thing, honestly. Just eliminates a lot of headaches that way. But you're right. It is sometimes it's just a pain in the ass for the customer.
Let me
And
let me ask you this, Cody. Okay, let's be old men about it. What do you think of self checkout?
I will say this. I'm 50-50. Sometimes it's way more convenient because 99% of the time I'm only going for 5 things or less. And I prefer to check out at my own speed because then I don't have to wait.
Okay.
However, if I have a lot of groceries, like if I'm making a real grocery run, I would much rather prefer to go to an actual checkout line because I don't want to separate this stuff into the bags it needs to go in. I'm going to throw the bread on the bottom and I'm going to crush it with my milk on top of it. I want someone else to be in charge of this if I got a full cart. So I'm going to say I'm 50-50.
Yeah, I think 20 items is about my cut on it. If it's
That's
well, just because like I think about like 20 items, grocery store. Another old man thing is bitching about prices. 20 items, I'm gonna spend at least $380. I mean, I could probably get by with just doing it, you know, on my own. But it's just like anything more than that, like just let me throw it on the conveyor belt. Someone gets to bag it. Like I don't know. I go both ways with it comes to that self checkout because sometimes it's great. I don't have to deal with people. And then sometimes I get stuck behind even older people than me that have no idea how this shit apparently works. They haven't gone to a grocery store in, I don't know, the past 6 years, and they're just bamboozled by it. Like,
Yeah. I
and
do like the listening to the Facebook rants of the old people. It's like, I'm not on payroll. I'm not scanning these groceries. This isn't my job. This is your job.
yeah, how come I didn't get an employee discount? Huh? I work here.
There's a lot of people here in the town that I'm in. It's a smaller town, we have a Walmart here, and the poor old lady that just has to check the receipts of the people from self checkout gets so much flack when when these people get up to her. I had to scan my own groceries. What do you mean you don't trust me? And it's like, yeah, that's exactly what they're saying. That you might have not scanned some of your shit. We don't want you to steal, you old man. Let me see your goddamn receipt.
Yeah, I laugh at those videos where it's just like social justice warriors and they're like, I'm not letting, they're not checking my receipt. This is my First Amendment right for them not to look at my receipt. Like, dude, you're at a freaking Walmart. Like, it ain't that serious. You bought Nutter Butters and some bell peppers. Like, you're gonna get through this. I promise you.
Uh, well, you'll be all right.
What
You'll be all right, Craig. You'll be
what
all right.
percentage of those people do you think don't return their carts? I'd say half.
I would say it's a good portion. It's got to be a good portion. You follow that page on TikTok, those cart
Cart
narcs.
narcs. Whoop, 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 whoop.
So I not that I wouldn't already because I already did, but now I always make a point to like bring my cart specifically to the spot it needs to go, regardless of the situation or how inconvenient it is. Because I don't want my ass to end up on one of those videos. They are so funny. They are so funny.
I would always return it just because I don't want to get like my car door dinged or anything. But no, when it comes to that cart narc stuff, man, like they got to have like a crossover episode with like the Insane Clown Posse and that Agent Sebastian, and they're all just fucking whoop whoop whoop, and they're all just screaming at people and shit to put their carts away. I would watch
Yelling at people.
I watch the fuck out of that. That'd be great.
That's another thing. We might be getting old, but we're not that old because it seems like the majority of the people on those videos are like middle-aged men, and they just freak out and they just start yelling at these guys. I'm not putting this thing back. Get the hell out of my way.
Yeah, and they always have like a 2007 Tundra, like with a whatever that what's that one sticker that they always got on the back of it? The not the Predator, obviously, but oh man, I can't. The
Punisher.
pun,
Punisher
the
sticker.
Punisher. They're just like, oh, like yeah, you're a hardo, dude. You're still wearing tap out shirts. What the fuck? Like, put your fucking shopping cart away, you clown. And like
That's
someone's wife is getting hit over that too. Like, honey, they made this guy wanted me to put my shopping cart away. I said, do I look like I work there? What do you mean it didn't make dinner? Like, like it has to just spiral into something. And some kids going to school the next day and they're just like, Daddy hit mommy. And they're like, well, what could have caused that? And like, he was at Walgreens and he didn't put his card away and some guy told him to. And he said, Sandra's getting it tonight. Like,
that ruins like their entire month, like they're just pissed about everything.
oh, yeah, like the leather is about to just rip off that steering wheel when he's driving home, just pissed about it. Like, even Little River Band can't calm him down. Like, he's on one.
Yeah, I think that's what I need to do. I need to go listen to some Little River Band on my way home, and I need to reevaluate because now that we're talking about this, I realize that we are getting old. We're not that old yet. We're not crotchety old men, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to the day that I am because there's going to be some good content out of that maybe my grandkids will be able to video me and put it up on whatever version of TikTok is out at that point. So I'm excited for that. Well, hey Ben, I think this is a good time to wrap this thing up. I think the worst part about getting old is not necessarily the worst part. I think these are kind of becoming the sweeter things in life, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think life is just finally starting to, maybe mellow out. Maybe, getting a little more money here and there. Life's kind of coming together. And I think you can really enjoy the simple little things like your lawn, your beef, and, just quality time, just hanging out, sitting on the couch,
Yeah.
just enjoying like putting on a nice fresh pair of socks out of the dryer. And, you know, that was as close to your clubbing days and going to strip clubs as it ever was back then. But they're nice socks. You'll get through it. Like, I think it's all right.
They're just nice socks, and sometimes a nice sock just feels like a nice warm hug
Mm-hmm.
straight out of the frick dryer. Well, boys, thanks for tuning in. If you're listening to this and you made it this far through our old man complaining, drop us a subscribe, drop us a like, and comment what are some worst parts of getting old that we missed. Comment that, and we'll see you next week. Ben, thank you for joining me.
No problem.